a three, a two, a head. Hey, what's up, everybody? It's me, YemmytheFerret here, with another episode of Film Freakz. That's right, the podcast all about movies and movies. I don't know what else I'm gonna say. We have a few updates before we get started, and then we'll get everyone into the conversation here. There is a official Film Freakz Gmail account. Why do you have a Gmail account? Well, you see, after Coco's recommendation, he's the fourth one on the list, I believe. We are going to do a fan-voted movie review. Just like Kylex Plays did the first one, someone will be able to do the fifth one. And essentially, we'll have as many people who want to send us an email, and then I'll put it in a list. We'll pick 4 movies from the list, put it in a poll, and you could possibly have the recommendation of that week. The Gmail is ff.filmfreaks@gmail.com. If you want to, you can send us messages, dick pics, movie reviews, everything like that. And so make sure you get in on that action. We already have 2 submissions. 2 submissions, and I'll reveal who they are once that week comes around. The poll will go live before we record the episode where we're supposed to announce the winner. So look for that probably in a month or so. So let's go ahead and introduce ourselves. I, of course, am YemmytheFerret. You know me from YemmyCast, Fubar Ferret, my YouTube channel, streaming, whatever, doesn't matter, aka Yemmy. I'm also here with...
Hi guys, my name is Nick, aka Greedy Waffle, and I am Yemmy's friend.
Hey, I'm Tay. That's all you need to know.
I am Coco, and I yeet.
There we go. We got Coco, Tay, and Nick, along with myself, YemmytheFerret. So today's movie was recommended by me. Oh, it was such an honor. So I decided to recommend Fury, which is from 2014. It was directed by David Ayer, or Ayer, I'm not sure how you pronounce it. This isn't a podcast about grammar, this is a podcast about movies. It stars Brad Pitt, Logan Lerman, John Bernthal, and our favorite, Shia LaBeouf. And it's all about a Allied tank pushing through in the European theater. There's many battles to be had, and eventually they end up hopelessly outnumbered, as this website says, outgunned, and saddled with an inexperienced soldier. And they have to fight their way through Nazi Germany. That's right, the land of Hitler. So, I guess I'll start off with, I am glad that I recommended this movie because I haven't seen it since it came out, and now I know that I don't want to see it again.
I am with you on that one.
I don't need to say it again either.
I agree.
I didn't hate it, but
yeah.
I just like how I got the digital, or the box cover, and it's like the best movie since Private Ryan, or it's like the best war film since Private Ryan. I'm like, after watching that, I'm like,
Well, that's the thing. Like, when it came out, a lot of people were comparing it to Saving Private Ryan, and it's a fair comparison. They're 2 war movies. They're gritty. They just have one has a tank and one has just soldiers. And I think that it's good to compare these movies because I want to start off with the CGI in this movie, in Fury. If you go back and watch Saving Private Ryan, there are so many scenes with practical effects where bullet holes are actually punching through shirts and, bombs are actually exploding. And you get to this movie, and sure, there's a few practical effects in there, but one scene in particular stood out to me with lazy CGI, and that's a scene where they're moving into the town, and the grandpa guy gets shot in the face. And a machine gun starts opening up right in front of these American soldiers. And they all just kind of flop over with no, bullet marks on them, no blood splatter, no nothing. And I'm like, that just seems so lazy to me. And there's other parts in the movie, of course, that I could example too, but that was the one that stood out to me the most in just, you could have done a practical effect there, but you didn't.
Exactly. Through the movie, I'm gonna say for 2014, there was definitely better CGI that they could have used, and also with bullet holes, they barely had that in the movie. A lot of people just died off screen or just one freaking effect that happened there. And then when they're shooting from the tank, it looked a lot like they were shooting lasers to another tank or shooting lasers from a gun. to one laser and then when they were ricocheting, like doop, doom. It's like I'm not sure how this worked.
Yeah, the one thing I
that
noticed.
was the laser thing. That was the tracer bullet that they mentioned. The fire. There's like 4 bullets and then the tracer bullet, just so you can see what you're shooting. So the laser wasn't an actual bullet. It was so they could see where they're shooting. The bullets were before that.
That's true.
But go ahead.
One thing I noticed was you could only see bullet holes and crazy like blood splatter and stuff like that after the action happened. So let's take the last scene into effect. We won't talk about it right now because that's a little bit of spoiler. We'll do that more towards the end. But the last scene, the tank's being hammered with gunfire and stuff like that, and all the scenes where you look around the tank with the camera, it doesn't really look like there's much damage. And then the sun comes up and it's all like birds chirping, and you see the tank and it's like covered in bullet holes. There's paint chipped everywhere. It's burned, stuff like that. So it's very strange. Very strange.
I don't, watch a lot of war movies, so I didn't really actually notice the bad CGI. I mean, there was maybe, like the grandpa one does stand out now you mention it, but I figure that's because he can't, an old man probably would be severely injured if he used a plaster cap. So I could see them going, we'll just CGI it. But other than that, like, it didn't really stand out to me. Like, my biggest problem with the movie was it was definitely not a feel-good movie.
Yeah. Well, I mean, really, neither was Saving Private Ryan, but I feel like Saving Private Ryan ended up like it's hard. I can't find the right words right now, but it ended up like the characters actually grew. The characters, you actually started to like them as you went through them. Even the harder characters who were harder to like, you started to enjoy towards the end. And I guess there's one character at the end that I really still hated throughout the movie, but other than that, like you grow and these characters grow so naturally throughout the experience. And this era of, who's this Ryan guy, and they got to go save him, and what's going to happen, and it was such a well written movie. While this one, I feel like the writing in it was
were
very,
likable.
very poor. Yeah, none of the characters were likable, even up to the end. Even when the Punisher, I'll call him, was confessing his love for the for the new guy. That I just couldn't find any of them likable. And one thing that stood out to me was that the main character, whose nickname is eventually Machine, his character arc is like it's like a solid line, and then it just dips. It just goes into a right angle.
Yes.
Because all through the movie, he's like, I don't want to kill anyone. Oh my god, I can't kill anyone. Then all of a sudden, he shoots 2 Germans who are burning alive, and he talks to War Daddy. He's like, it felt so good. And I'm like, he's probably just saying that to appease War Daddy. But in the next scene, he's yelling about, die, you pigs. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
I agree. I thought the same thing, that he was just saying it, just to like go, it felt good. But then it was when they blew up his lady friend, that's when he suddenly went, fuck Nazis.
I mean, I thought like everyone, it cheers to them because they took it in a different direction. I was like, when that scene happened where he shot the burning Germans and everyone in the tank are like, should just let them burn. Like, I thought they were going to hate on him even more. I was like, oh man, here we go. He did the wrong thing. And after, he was just taught, hey, kill Germans no matter what. So I thought they were going to go be like, you're an asshole. You did this. Like, why'd you do that? But I'm really glad they didn't. So I'll give them credit on that.
I almost thought then that was his reason for wanting to kill those 2. Is like, they're suffering. Let me put them out of their misery at the very least. Which would have made more sense for him as a character because of what we've seen. Mm-hmm. But yeah, then he just takes a right turn and suddenly he's just like, I have to kill all the Nazis.
Every single one.
Yeah.
Since we're at this part, the main part of this movie that bugged me the most is literally the scenes that we're talking about right now, this whole town. Like, we didn't need that scene. We could have, skipped, 25 minutes, 35 minutes of, him meeting the girls, it's just like, that part just annoyed me, and it was so boring, too. Like, I don't know, maybe it's just my opinion, but I just did not like that whole idea of the scene. It was just so dumb.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that, especially when I first saw it back when I was just coming out of high school. I was like, this is dumb. But when I watched it again, it's just like, this is really forced character progression. Like,
yes.
I felt like
Absolutely.
They were pushing these characters a little bit too far, and it just didn't seem natural to me.
Yeah.
It's just I know it's supposed to be awkward because they're Americans and the girls are German, but it was just it was like just awkward the whole time, and then especially when the guy was like, "Oh, go have sex," it's just like what? And it's just then the rest of the crew comes in. Oh my god, that's where it just tipped me over. I was just like, oh my goodness, it was just especially when the whole crew comes in and the guy just starts making fun of him. It was just like, come on, dude.
No, that was it. From like it did feel forced. Like they're trying to be like, oh look, even though he just forced somebody or forced a machine to kill somebody, he's an okay guy. And you're like, this seems forced, but okay. And then the others come in and you're just like, God, I really don't like any of these characters. The one character I don't mind the most, surprisingly, was Shia LaBeouf's character. His was like the only character I was like, you know what? I don't mind your character.
I like that one guy next to Norman, the new kid. What was his name?
Lewis from Ant-Man.
You talking about Machine?
Yeah, maybe it was Machine. The one
Norman.
that was the other. Yeah, next to Norman, the one operation next to Norman on the other machine gun.
Michael Peña or whatever his name is.
Yeah, I liked him. He was cool.
Gordo, that was his name.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't mind Gordo either.
On Tay's point of liking Shia LaBeouf, this is actually his first. This was his first movie since the Transformers movies, like I said in the last podcast, and he came out and gave it his all in this movie. But why did they make him so religious? Like, it was a little bit off-putting to me. Like, I don't care if you're religious. Like, I don't care. But it seemed like every scene he was coming around, he was like, oh, you gotta praise Jesus. And then the one thing I didn't like at the end of almost one of the most things I didn't like was at the end of the movie, War Daddy throughout the whole movie's like, I don't believe in any of that shit. And then all of a sudden he's like quoting Bible verses at the ends, maybe just to appease Shia LaBeouf's character, but I don't know. I didn't like the whole religious aspect on this one.
I felt like that was to like counterweight Norman, like to help him out to make him feel comfortable. I think they're like, hell, hey, he's not the only one in the war that's so religious and so new to this, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think he was there, like, because he'd been in this for several years and he still was religious. But like just the fact that he just seemed the most sincere character. All the other the Punisher's character, he's like a complete dickwad, and then somebody's like, "Hey, I think you're a good person." Like they tried to give him that like redemption or something. But it's like this doesn't seem sincere or anything, which is why I actually thought him and like I said the driver was okay too, but they were the ones that at least seemed most sincere and like okay.
Yeah,
I mean, they still weren't very likable, but
yeah, I actually didn't mind them, but it's kind of stereotypical with like the Punisher just like being in just total douche.
You're talking about
yeah. So the entire movie, even when he was like trying to be sincere, he was still a douche about it. Doesn't matter what he's trying to do, and they could have gotten him to do like a much better role than just being the douche in the movie.
They were all douches.
True.
Yeah.
But some are less douchey.
True, some were. And I think maybe that was like commentary on wars. Like, hey, if you're in war long enough, you just become a douchebag.
Maybe.
I guess what they're going for.
You just don't. Yeah, you just don't care anymore.
Yeah.
Can we talk about these anti-tank weapons, quote unquote? Missing, freaking bouncing off these tanks. I'm like, come on, what is going on? Like, I know you can get lucky sometimes and it bounces up, but it was like when they're attacking that tree line, every shot was either bounced off or a miss. I'm like, come on, they haven't moved, they're going straight ahead, and you're telling me these anti-tank crews can't hit them?
Yeah, that was a little too lucky.
Yeah, and at the end of the movie, there's like 5 Panzerfaust that shoot at the tank, and they all kind of miss. And then the one guy, somehow the Panzerfaust goes through the tank. And I understand an anti-tank shell going through a tank, like it did during the versus the Tiger tank battle.
Mm-hmm.
But a Panzerfaust explodes on impact. We've researched this throughout the years. I have never seen a game or real representation of the weapon pierce through a tank's armor. I agree with you, Nick. Like these shots or these weapons were not handled correctly.
Anti-tank, but does not actually kill a tank.
Logs? That'll block a bullet.
Yeah.
Also,
metal? Nope.
Nope.
It's anti-tank, but yet it didn't do a very good job of stopping any tanks.
Exactly.
That whole tank or that whole tree line they attacked, that was probably the best part of the movie, honestly. Like, I really enjoyed that part. I thought it was cool the way they were like picking up these men that were just like, laying on the ground, avoiding the fire. Which another thing, why weren't the anti-tank guns firing at the guys laying on the ground? But it was cool how they were like picking them up and like, they were all behind the tank. But it was just like, come on, there's no way you're that bad of a fire. I mean, you have camouflage under your side, and you still can't destroy. What was it? 4 Sherman Sherman tanks.
Yeah, 3. I think there was 3 at the time of that crossing.
Yeah, because one got destroyed by the kid because Norman wasn't gonna fire at him because he's just a kid. Yeah. So yeah, there was 3. Yeah.
Yeah.
So even makes my point even more true. So it's like, come on.
Yeah. I felt like this game showed some brutal and gratuitous scenes just for the sake of it. The first one that shows up is you see the piece of the guy's face that was killed that Norman took his spot on, which, I mean, you could have shown that as soon as he jumped into the tank, but they waited until he was, like, cleaning it and all bloody to look at it. I felt like that was a really weird scene, and then they showed a close-up of the guy on fire after his tank blew up on fire.
And he shoots himself.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then, just showing Emma dead in the rubble, like, she's on top of the rubble perfectly, just all these things that, like, they just showed him just to, I don't know, shock you, but it wasn't really shocking to me because after that first scene, it's like, okay, so half of a face on the ground, what's next, guys? Come on.
I actually will say, the part where the tank commander to the left of, the main cast, getting shot like they did by the other tank, that was pretty cool. I wasn't expecting that. I was like, oh.
Yeah, the Tiger Tank battle was my favorite scene in this because they actually used real life World War II tactics, kind of like with the scene with them attacking the forest, the tree line. Because when you go up against a Tiger Tank, you really do need to go around to the backside. It's not like Battlefield where you can shoot a tank wherever and it blows up. You actually had to go into the rear of the Tiger Tank. While the Tiger Tank had these very impressive armor-piercing rounds that would, like they showed, it would literally go through the metal on the Sherman tanks, making them literally pointless to use. So I felt like the tactics they used in that scene were actually really good. They did the smoke fire, and then they even said bum rush, and I was like, yeah!
I don't get why they didn't attack from the get-go. Like, they smoked out the tank, and they could have been at least, 50 yards, 100 yards ahead, like, closer to the tank by the time, but they went backwards. I was like, what are you going backwards for? Just attack it,
Yeah.
I felt like there could have been 2 tanks left after that, but I don't know. I'm not a tank commander. I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah, exactly. Also, they had multiple chances to get a shot in. Even if they had, all you need was one shot to the thing, and the thing would be dead. But they didn't choose it. They kept rushing back like, you have a clear shot. Take the shot.
They could have even shot for the tank treads. Like at the end of the movie, they hit a mine and their tank is busted because the mine destroys the tread. It's like you could essentially, paralyze it by doing that.
Yeah. I did like the German tank commander. The Tiger was moving up, and the commander was like, "What are we doing? Just sit here." And then because the turret can turn faster than when it's parked, essentially. And I like that whole idea. I was like, oh, that's pretty good. But I guess that didn't help them out in the long run.
Well, they were going up against Brad Pitt. They didn't have a chance.
Yeah, you're right. And Shia LaBeouf. Oh, yeah, that was the tipping edge.
2 different types of crazy going after you. Come on.
We can't kill him off just yet. Just gotta seem a way to get the victory, even though I don't know, that scene kind of bugged me there because I don't know, it doesn't seem real. Because if it was an actual battle, I'm pretty sure they were taking the shot way earlier instead of not taking a shot at all. Killed every other tank too instead of theirs.
Yeah, it would take a little bit longer to load up the next shell when they were going against the last tank there.
Yeah,
true.
I'm really glad the Tiger tank did come at a good part because they had like multiple scenes where they're just driving down the road. I'm like, oh man, here we go, just another,
It's the
them
Walking
driving.
Dead season 3.
Yeah, I'm like, just another them driving down this road, and all of a sudden it was like, boom! I was like, oh, finally, because he had that scene where I thought this scene in the beginning where they're driving down the road and there's a whole bunch of like kids, older people. And, they're like, watch out, someone could ambush us, someone could have a gun, just keep your eyes open. I thought something was going to happen, but then
Yeah,
I was
me
like,
too.
nope. I was like, oh, man.
Build up suspense for nothing.
Yeah, pretty much.
Did you guys notice in the opening scene, it was after, like, one, why is the German riding a horse? One.
Yeah.
But after, like, the artillery started falling, the movie cut to black, and I thought there was something wrong with my movie, like my disc. Did you guys think that too? Because I felt like that was just a really sharp cut that didn't really make sense.
Yeah, I was like, is everything okay?
I rewinded. I was like, what the heck?
I was watching it on Amazon, so I didn't notice.
Yeah, the 4K
I
disc.
didn't notice either.
Oh wait, actually no, I know what you are talking about because I do remember thinking that was a weird cut.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a weird cut.
I think it would have been a more effective opening if they, they cut out that part with the German riding the horse, because I thought that was just dumb. It was just to set up a cinematic
It was
shot.
just a gun kill.
Yeah, it was just for the cinematic of it all and blah blah
Yeah,
blah.
it took so long.
Be like, hey, Brad Pitt.
Yeah, if they had just started with artillery falling, then had them show the tank escaping the fire, and then you cut to them being safe at the military base, that would have been a much better opening scene, I think.
You also never see a movie repair it. No matter what damage it done, it didn't seem like it affected the entire movie. Except for the last
until
scene.
the end.
Yeah.
Did you guys like the cinematography in this one? Because I thought it was some excellent shots in this movie, especially at the end where, just all the German bodies are around the tank and it is panning upwards. I felt like that was a really effective scene.
Yeah,
kind of showing how, because the tank is their home and they were defending their home, and just like the tank was kind of a character in itself, and like zooming out of it being like, this is the last time you're going to see the tank, and he's driving away in the truck. It was a really effective scene to me, personally.
Mm-hmm.
I thought there was a lot more bodies there than they killed, but I could have been wrong. I mean, it was dark. I wasn't really thinking about it either. I
thought there was going to be more.
Yeah, I thought there was too
me too.
little. Like, and of course they're all like perfectly away from the road.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
too.
that's-
And maybe the Germans did something afterwards because they were still there after the tank war, so maybe they did something. But I mean, even the part where Shia LaBeouf goes to grab a new gun off of a German, I think it was Shia LaBeouf.
Yeah, it was.
And it was just like there was no bodies around, and then it's like zooms out, and I'm like, oh, there's bodies there now. I'm like, oh, well, you never know.
Yeah. See, it's like in the final fight they were doing. Why didn't they bring a tank? The waste one tank they made, you only see it once in the entire movie. But the one tank that actually like almost defeated them all, you don't see him ever use it again.
Well, Taika tanks were there was only like, well, yeah, also they broke down a lot, and I think there was only like 100 made throughout the whole war. And
probably defending Berlin.
Right.
That's
Well,
true.
yeah, most tanks were huddling around Berlin or pushing back against allies, and that was a good point because you don't see the heavy artillery anymore because the German army is shrinking. They're using kids. They're using old men.
Yeah.
These officers are having to go out and fight themselves instead of hiding in a bunker. So I think that was a good way of showing like just how desperate the Germans were at the end of the war.
Well, they did throughout the whole movie they did that.
Yeah.
The Americans were saying, why don't these bastards just give up? And I think it was one scene where Brad Pitt was like, well, would you? So I was like, yeah, touche.
Yeah. Let's talk about the ending fight. I thought it was not as epic, of course, as Saving Private Ryan's, but I thought it was pretty good. There was one or two deaths that I thought were a little bit unnecessary or happened at the wrong moment. Like I already talked about the Panzerfaust going through the tank and killing the gunner, and then I really just Shia LaBeouf's death. It was supposed to of course it was supposed to be like, oh shit, that just happened. But when it happened, I was like, well, that's what you get.
What was he getting? Like, he was like, here's this, and then just boom.
I thought how does that not happen to Brad Pitt like 8 times already?
Right.
Yeah. Why did the Well, I don't want to spoil it too much, but
Well, we can go ahead and spoil it. People are supposed to watch the movie before we talk about
Yeah,
it.
technically.
so why did the sniper like take so long, or like why was it a sniper that eventually killed Brad Pitt off the gun?
I'm
It's
guessing
like-
the sniper was at the back, and I mean it was a big, huge company, and so they probably had to work him up and get him in position. That's the only logical explanation I can think of.
I have the same problem with the last scene as I did with Demolition Man, where he has a clear shot, he lines it up, and he hits him in the shoulder in a non-vital area first.
Yeah,
It's
It's
like
three
go
times.
for the head. Yeah, you
Yeah,
would have gone for
three
the head.
times.
Also, he was shot a lot of times, but he kept doing everything just fine. It's like the
Yep.
amount of times,
until
like
the end,
shot,
yeah.
shot, 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 shot.
Well, he
Oh,
did
no.
get shot by the
Sorry.
pistol too. I think you're right. Yeah, because before the sniper part came, he got shot by the pistol, didn't he?
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, he got
did.
shot in the arm.
Yeah, so
But Shia LaBeouf
so he
healed
took
that.
4 freaking bullets before, and then lived right after. So it's like crazy. Well, not
Shia
live.
LaBeouf sprinkled some cocaine on his cut, and that's what got him going.
Exactly. Need some cocaine in the blood.
I will say though, the battle started in like dusk, I want to say, and then all of a sudden it went pitch black. I was
Yeah,
like,
it was a little jarring how fast it just went
I was
totally
like-
dark.
no, it didn't go dark and then pitch black. No, it just went from light to pitch black. I was
Yeah.
like, what the heck?
Yeah.
It's almost
and
like
I-
they shot the scene where they blew up the barn
Yeah.
before that happened, and then they took a long time to set up the next scene, and by the time it was like already dark or something.
Well, they did mention how it was gonna be dark when the battle started, but I was like, oh, I was expecting it to be like pitch black like it started. I mean, I'd rather have just been, start at pitch black and end in pitch black, not start and then next scene it's like, well, man, someone shot the lights out. It's like, what? Someone shot the sun? I don't know.
Also, in the tank, as you can see from the top, it was still light out in the thing, 'cause you could see the light. But you open the lid and everything's dark.
I didn't notice that, but you were absolutely right.
I'm like,
Yeah.
choose what you're gonna do.
Why did it take so long for that patrol to get him? I mean, that Norman only went like not even a mile up, but they had enough time to set the burning body on the tank. Put the guns where they wanted, have smokes in the tank, and sing. Did they sing or make? They're all
No,
being loud.
they drank wine.
Drink.
Yeah, they drank, and it was like an hour passed by the time
Yeah.
Germans actually got to the tank and on top of the tank. I was like, what?
Yeah, they were marching pretty fast, and
Yeah. Although,
they
I
took
mean,
a-
sorry, I will take armies moving slower. Because my biggest problem is in movies when armies move like hundreds and hundreds of miles in like a day, and it's like armies don't move that fast.
2 towers.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just seemed like they weren't even like a mile away, and then like they wouldn't have had that much time to do what they did if the troops were even a mile away. Unless
leading up-
Norman's like a really, really fast runner. But
Clerks
How
are
about
known for
leading
being
up
fast.
to that scene though? Because he's eating those K rations for what seems like 5 years in movie time, and I was like, okay, what are we doing here? Like, I don't care about how authentic the K rations look. I just don't care. Jeez.
I was thinking he was just going to get shot because he wasn't even looking around. He was just looking at his food as he eats. I'm like, okay, this guy's dead. He's a horrible lookout.
Well, luckily the Germans were singing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
luckily.
Way more plot convenience than actual event.
yeah, well, and he didn't pick a very good spot either. I mean, I know he kind of went in the trees, but there was like that giant opening, like something like parked there, and like knocked down the bushes and shrubs, and then he just decided to hide in that. I was like, geez. And I was maybe since they were singing, I was like, no way these Germans would see him. So I don't know.
Exactly.
Especially because he's running down a road that's like open. Like we saw the scene, they showed the entire area. It's wide open where he ran down from.
Well,
Very
he actually
true.
ran down on the right hand side in the field because that's where he came around that tree line. So that
That was
actually
a weird
was.
thing to me. I thought he was running towards the tank. The tank was looking towards that hill, and he was running towards it. But he ended up coming around from behind the tank. That's what it
Yeah.
looked like to me. I was kind of like, well, that doesn't make any sense.
There was a lot of weird scenes.
I would say go back and watch it again, but I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
The last point I had to make, none of these actors, maybe except for the new kid, felt like actual war tankers, felt like actual soldiers to me. I don't know if it's just because they chose so many famous people to shove into this movie, but I don't know. It really just felt like they were acting as tankers instead of actually being the tankers. Like, when you watch Saving Private Ryan, those guys feel like soldiers, they look like soldiers. Even Tom Hanks. Do you know Tom Hanks? He's done so many movies. Mm-hmm. He puts on an entire new character, and he actually seems like that sergeant. And this movie just fails at that almost completely. Yeah. Other soldiers who show up, yeah, they're fine. They look like soldiers. They act like soldiers. They talk like soldiers. But the guys inside that tank, I don't see them as soldiers.
Yeah,
I thought Brad Pitt was actually pretty good. I will say that he looked pretty, quote unquote, like throughout the whole movie. Every time they showed a scene of him, he was like all clean and like his hair was perfect. I was like you're in war, dude. I know you got like a little shower when you went to that little town with the girls, but I was like, no way your hair stays like that, especially with putting on like the helmets and closing that lid and being inside that tank.
He doesn't ever wear a helmet, and he uses a lot of product.
No, you put a helmet on every time they went to war.
The little tanker helmet, yeah.
Okay. During that tanker scene, yeah.
I just noticed most of the time when the other people would put helmets on, he was not wearing a helmet most of the time.
Yeah. I guess that one guy who was in the tank that got his head blown off should have probably worn a helmet. I don't think he was wearing a helmet, actually.
Yeah.
I don't think it really matters, though.
No, apparently in this movie, every shot ricochets.
Yeah.
True. That's the point.
Okay, anyone else have anything else they want to say or talk about the movie?
Not really, actually.
You ready to move on?
Oh, I do want to say one thing is maybe I missed it, but why was Norman a hero? Like at the end of the movie.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering too.
Well, it was implied that they killed enough Germans to hold them back from getting to that medical area or whatever it was that they were heading to.
Oh, so they like half killed like the platoon or whatever it's called.
I think the Germans were in weak enough numbers that they couldn't, take the place, or maybe they stalled them long enough that the soldiers were able to get away, retreat a little bit, and fortify.
Maybe.
So that's why they were calling him a hero.
Yeah.
We could add.
I agree with Yemmy's assessment there.
I think it's bullshit that the German
I know
kid
what's coming. Yep.
The German kid didn't kill him.
It is entirely BS. Like, I don't know, because you would think that like that German kid is having the same talks as Norman is, right? Like, these guys are the enemy. You need to shoot and kill them no matter what. If they're kids, they're adults, etc., etc. And you would think that the German army, full of Nazis, that should be like the number one thing in that kid's head. I mean, that's how the Germans gained power. Was they just, they took over through fear tactics and mental play, and you would have think that kid would have been like, hey, there's an American guy under here, let's capture him, but I guess not.
The way I figured is he was supposed to be the German equivalent of Norman, where he would just like drafted or something, and he's just like, hey, this kid looks just like me, I'm just gonna let him be.
I mean, as soon as I saw it, I went right back to the beginning scene where Norman didn't shoot the kid that ended up blowing up the leading tank. So that's soon I was like, oh, it's just one of like kids are gonna be kids, I guess you could say it, or I don't know, man. That kid was looking under that tank for so long. I thought another German was gonna be like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah, like why didn't anyone ask what he was doing? And like someone's like, "Did you find anything?" He was like, and he just kept walking. But it's like
you would think that more Germans would check under that tank too.
Yeah, why? Yeah. Not just one kid.
Nah, yeah, it's just that little Jimmy over there got it. He won't. He sees all of those Americans. Yeah, it's just amazing that the Germans didn't think about looking under there too. Like, don't all tanks have escape hatches like that? I don't know.
Probably.
Maybe not in Germany.
Maybe not. I mean, hey, Norman didn't even know it was there the whole time in that tank. So.
Yeah. All right. We ready to give our final thoughts on the movie and our rating?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Who wants to go first?
You go first. It's your movie.
Oh, yeah. I knew this was going to happen. So, Fury 2014, like I said at the beginning of the podcast, I'm glad that I recommended this movie because I've been waiting to rewatch it, but now that I've watched it again, I know that I don't want to watch it again. there was just too much in the movie that I felt wasn't really historically accurate. I couldn't get into the characters, and really the only things that shown in this movie were like the actual World War II tactics and a lot of the battle scenes, which is a stark difference from Saving Private Ryan, where I feel like the character stuff and then the downtimes in that movie really help the movie, where in this one, in Fury, it really subtracts from the movie. And then also, I would say I liked Shia LaBeouf in this movie, but I just can't because his character was very forced. And I'm a fan of Shia LaBeouf, I'll admit it, but I just didn't like him in this role. And in the end, I'm giving it a 1.5 out of 5.
Wow, it's low.
I get that.
For me, I'll give it a 2.5 or 3 out of 5. Like I don't know all the I'm not enough of a historical buff to notice all the historical faults. The characters, while unlikable, actually no, never mind. I take it back. Yeah, 2. I give it a 2.
I also forgot to mention the CGI turned me off in this movie too.
Yeah.
All right, I'll go. Fury, I think the idea was there. Like, best way to say it was like A for idea, but F for final product. I like the whole idea. Like, I like where they wanted to go with the movie, but the way they did it and the way it was ended up on cinema, I don't think it just didn't. It didn't just appeal to me, They tried to make it, like, the war is tough, the Americans are going through a tough time trying to push through, killing kids, it's going to be tough. But I didn't feel that throughout the movie. And it did have cool parts, like the tank commander getting shot up and blown up. That was kind of cool. But just that whole 35 minutes of them in that town with the 2 girls just turned me off. Like, I wanted to turn off the movie right at that point. Like, I was just so done with it. So I'll give it a 2 out of 5.
For this movie, I have mixed feelings because once again, the CGI, I was disappointed. Some scenes were like, it was like, oh, someone died. I was like, oh, the woman I like died. He got over it pretty fast. He was one scene like they were very forcing that douche, and so overall, I did not watch the movie and hearing the reviews. It was not that good. They could have done so much better with the movie because the idea was great. But exactly when Nick said, the final product was just not good. So I'll give it a 1.5 out of 5.
Well, I'm glad I wasn't the lowest, but I think we all had the same thoughts on the movie. But like I said, I am glad that I recommend it because it's a movie that's been on my mind recently with like Midway coming out and stuff like that. So I wanted to, go back to it and see what I thought about it nowadays. Because when I originally saw it when I was in high school, like I said, like I thought it was the bee's knees, and going back now after all these years, it's like, yeah, well, I was dumb.
We all make
dumb
choices as small kids.
Yeah. Yep. I believe that Greedy Waffle, a.k.a. Nick, has a recommendation for us.
Yes, I am this week's recommendation. So I'm kind of actually in the same boat as Yemmy. I saw this movie originally. The movie is actually based off the novel series. Jeez, can't speak. And it is called The Maze Runner, 2014. So The Maze Runner, it is directed by Wes Ball. Some of the main cast is Dylan O'Brien, Kai Hong Lee, Blake Cooper, Will Poulter, and just some of the main guy is Dylan O'Brien, and they're a bunch of teenagers that arrives in the center of a giant labyrinth, and the youth that is dumped there before him has no memory of their previous life, so they have to work through this maze with a bunch of scary monsters to try to escape this maze. The reason I chose this movie, like I said, is because I just want to see it again. I remember it being pretty good, but like Yemmy said, things change. And so, yeah, that's my recommendation. Anything else I need to include?
Nope, that's perfect.
Oh.
All right.
So, yeah, if you guys who are listening want to get in on the conversation about The Maze Runner from 2014.
It is the first one.
Yes, just watch the movie before that. We'll talk about it in 2 weeks. That's right, 2 weeks. All right. I think that about wraps it up. Remember, if you want to send us a film recommendation for the fan film vote, just send it over to FF, that's 2 F's as in Frank, .filmfreaks, of course with a Z, at gmail.com, and we'll put you into the running. We always say make sure it's a movie that's easier to find than most, and also make sure that there's a good amount of platforms that it's on, so that we don't have to people don't have to buy them from Amazon or something like that and wait 2 weeks and then rush to watch the movie. And yeah, should be good times. After Nick is Taymation, so next episode Tay will be recommending the movie. Anything else you guys want to say?
No.
No.
All right. Well, I am YemmytheFerret, and I've been here with...
Grady Waffle.
Taymation.
Coco Gamer.
And we are Film Freakz. Thanks for watching. Listening.
Definitely watching.